Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a fascinating piece of historical source material to uncover how a relatively small desert army managed to completely shatter a 1,000-year-old global superpower. We are talking about one of the most pivotal moments in human history, the epic Battle of Al-Qadsieyha.
So let's just set the stage here. We're tracing historical accounts of an epic clash from the 7th century that quite literally redrew the map of the world. At this time, the globe was dominated by these massive, deeply entrenched empires, and the idea of a new, emerging force from the deserts of Arabia taking down established titans, it seemed completely impossible. So how did they actually do it? How did they pull off this monumental David versus Goliath victory? Let's take a look at the timeline.
Part 1. The Torn Letter and the Shift.
The roots of this incredible conflict didn't actually start on a battlefield at all. They started years earlier with a simple, fateful piece of paper. It really is a brilliant illustration of how small actions in history can ripple out into massive geopolitical shifts. According to the sources, Prophet Muhammad sent letters to the world's most powerful rulers, inviting them to Islam. Most were respectful, right? But the Persian emperor Khosrow arrogantly tore the letter up, deeply offended that his own name wasn't placed first. And the texts note that this led to a prophecy of his empire's downfall. And sure enough, the dominoes started falling. Khosrow was shockingly assassinated by his own son, which threw this 1,000-year-old Persian empire into severe instability with a rapid succession of weak rulers. Fast forward just a few years, the Muslim armies, now under Caliph Umar, have just dealt a crushing defeat to the other world superpower, the Romans, at the Battle of Yarmouk. Realizing the Romans are no longer an immediate threat, Caliph Umar makes a really smart move and pivots his attention and his forces toward a weakened Persia.
Part 2. Clash of Superpowers. Realizing the immense, expanding threat of the Muslim forces, the world witnessed a geopolitical alliance that absolutely no one saw coming. Setting aside 800 years of bitter, bloody rivalry, the Roman and Persian empires actually united. I mean, think about that for a second. Two massive empires, mortal enemies for 8 centuries, joining forces out of sheer panic. To seal this historic pact, the Roman Emperor Heraclius actually married his granddaughter to the newly appointed young Persian king Yazdegerd. Their plan was simple: pool their armies, launch a coordinated strike, and crush the Muslims once and for all. To face this terrifying, united superpower, Caliph Umar called upon his people. He managed to raise an army of 30,000 men. To lead them, he appointed Sa'd ben Abi Waqqas. Now, Sa'd was a legendary, battle-tested veteran who had heroically defended the Prophet during the Battle of Uhud. He was widely respected, and he confidently marched this force of 30,000 out toward the Persian frontier. But standing against them at the plains of Al-Qadsieyha was a massive force of 150,000 soldiers. They were commanded by the formidable and brilliant General Rustam. So you've got the Muslims outnumbered 5-1, facing an enemy equipped with superior steel armor and immense resources. Part 3. The Basket of Dirt. So the big question is, what do you do before a battle where you are just massively outgunned? Well, you send a message. General Sa'd, following strict instructions from Caliph Umar, sent a small diplomatic delegation to the highly opulent Persian capital of Ctesiphon to offer 3 terms: accept Islam, pay a tax called the jizya, or face war. This beautifully illustrates the stark contrast of the era. On one side, you have these simple men from the desert in plain clothes, marching without a hint of royal protocol fearlessly into a highly opulent court. And on the other side, a fiercely proud Emperor Yazdegerd, who viewed the Arabs as vastly inferior and was completely baffled by their audacity. The envoys just walked right up to his throne and delivered their ultimatum directly. Outraged by their boldness, Emperor Yazdegerd refused the terms. To humiliate them, he ordered a heavy basket of dirt to be placed on the head of the lead Muslim envoy. But the sources highlight a really fascinating twist here. While Yazdegerd laughed, his own royal astrologer panicked. The astrologer saw this as a disastrous omen, believing the emperor had literally just symbolically handed over the soil of their lands to the Muslims. Yazdegerd immediately sent guards to retrieve the dirt, but it was too late. The envoys were already gone.
Part 4. The War Elephants.
Following 3 months of delays, psychological warfare, and a frankly genius horse relay network set up by Sa'd to keep Caliph Umar constantly informed back in Medina, the battle finally erupted in November of 636. And General Rustam unleashed a terrifying, unprecedented obstacle: 33 massive Indian war elephants. These weren't just animals, they were essentially the armored tanks of the ancient world. The Arab horses, which had never seen anything like this before, completely panicked.
The Muslim cavalry was instantly neutralized, forced to retreat as the massive beasts charged forward.
What followed was an incredible display of tactical adaptation over a multi-day battle. First, with their horses rendered useless, the fierce Banu Tamim tribe bravely stepped forward to fight these beasts on foot. Then, on the second day, a commander named Kaka bin Amr arrived with reinforcements from the Roman front. To counter the elephants, he ingeniously ordered his men to dress their camels in bizarre camouflage, using wood and cloth to terrify the Persian horses. And it worked perfectly. Finally, on the brutal third day, known in the sources as the Day of Hardships, the Muslims targeted the elephant corpse directly. They focused all their efforts on blinding the white alpha elephant. Once blinded, the enormous beast panicked, turned around and caused a massive stampede that completely crushed the Persian front lines.
But what really anchors this epic scale are the deeply human micro-narratives recorded in the texts. Take Abu Mizjan, for instance. He'd actually been chained to a pillar in the fort for drinking alcohol before the battle. Desperate to fight, he begged the general's wife to release him, promising to return to his chains if he survived. She agreed. He rode out into the thick of battle and fought so valiantly that soldiers literally thought an angel had descended to help them. He survived, and true to his word, went right back to his chains. Then there's the incredible story of a mother who came to the battlefield with her 4 sons. When night fell, she found all 4 of them had been martyred, falling side by side, protecting one another. Instead of screaming in grief, she raised her hands and praised Allah for the profound honor of their sacrifice. These are the kinds of stories that show the incredible conviction fueling this army.
Part 5. The Sandstorm and Victory.
By the morning of the 4th day, both sides were heavily depleted, and casualties were just immense. But then, nature intervened. A fierce, blinding sandstorm swept across the plains of qadsieyha, blowing directly into the Persian army's faces. This provided the Muslims with a critical tactical opening. Using the chaotic weather and basically zero visibility, Kaka bin Amr and a small, daring squad sneaked deep behind enemy lines. This was a desperate, all-or-nothing assault aimed directly at General Rustam's personal camp. They knew that if the head of the snake was cut off, the massive army would collapse. As the squad breached the camp, General Rustam fought bravely but was severely wounded. He attempted to flee by diving into the nearby river. But a Muslim soldier named Hilal spotted him, dove in after him, dragged the Persian commander out of the water, and killed him. Hilal then climbed atop Rustam's throne and shouted over the raging storm, "I swear by the Lord of the Kaaba, I have killed Rustam." The moment the Persian forces realized their mighty general was dead, their remaining morale instantly shattered and the 150,000-strong army broke and fled.
Part 6. The Humble Caliph. With 20,000 Persians and 8,000 Muslims dead, the monumental battle was over. Thousands were taken captive, including, and the historical texts make a point to note this, a man named Firaz. Now, ironically, Firaz would go on to assassinate Caliph Umar years later, but for now, the superpower had fallen. But how exactly did the leader of the Muslim world react to this world-altering victory? Remember, the Romans were defeated at Yarmouk, and now the Persians were shattered at qadsieyha. Caliph Umar was essentially the most powerful man on earth at this moment in time.
While miles and miles away from the battlefield, the sources describe a truly profound scene. Caliph Umar was dressed so plainly in common clothes that when the messenger finally arrived with news of the victory, he didn't even recognize the caliph. Umar had been anxiously pacing outside the city for days waiting for news. When the messenger rode past, Umar actually ran on foot alongside the messenger's horse just to hear the battlefield updates.
When the news was officially announced to the people of Medina, Caliph Omar didn't throw a lavish royal parade. He didn't sit on a golden throne like the emperor he had just defeated. Instead, he gathered his people in the mosque, weeping with gratitude, and delivered a profound message of humility. He told them, "I am not your king. I am an ordinary human, just like you, given the responsibility of leadership." He then calmly ordered his generals to continue their advance to the Persian capital.
This entire historical account leaves us with a fascinating final thought to ponder. We saw an opulent emperor relying on pride, power, and massive numbers, and a caliph who wore plain clothes and ran alongside a horse to hear the news. It makes you wonder, how does true victory change those who seek power versus those who seek purpose? Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you on the next Explainer.